Is homeschooling your children stressing you out? You're that person that's just like, yeah, I'm gonna pull my hair out, right? Because I've sure been there. We just found out we've been on quarantine, right, for more than a month now, and we recently found out that we're not just going to be homeschooling our kids for a few weeks and sending them back to school, but it's in fact going to be the rest of the year, and some even say it could go into next year. I have been homeschooling two of our four children for several years now. So I just wanted to share, some background, some information that I have learned through trial and error. So I feel like we're all in this together, and we can share information and answer questions to help each other, and especially people who are brand new to this. I wish, when I was getting started, I had a place where I could get information, ask questions, and find out what other people were doing. I did eventually find some homeschool co-ops that were so very helpful to me along the way. But there's nothing really local to us. So I didn't use any for very long, but they have been a good source of contacts and of meeting people, having places and people to ask questions to and to get help from along the way. So again, just some tips here, things that have helped me that I hope will help you too. And I would love to know what you guys are doing as far as things that you found that are helpful to you, that might be helpful to somebody else. So drop me a comment below, let me know. And the first one is, school doesn't have to be 7 or 8 hours. I remember, when I first started homeschooling, feeling like I had to pack the school day into our day, and that school was 7 or 8 hours, so that's how it should be. And in fact, that's not even what's recommended. It isn't recommended that homeschool be 7 to 8 hours, because in fact that's not the healthier way to do it. It's not how the child's mind and brain work best. So 2 to 4 hours based on the age and the child, each individual child, is really what's recommended. In fact, for younger children, that's more, kindergarten, first grade, through high school. So if you have a younger child, it's more an hour and a half. For two, I would say, even though you don't need that 7 or 8 hours of school, it is important to nail down the times, and have some structure, because once you do that, you have routine and habit working for you instead of against you, right? I've heard it said that our habits create our life. So I think that's pretty true. So, make it a habit, experiment a little in the beginning, I would say. Learn what works best for your family and your schedule. Of course, most of us don't have much of a schedule right now, but definitely see what works for you, and then tailor your school day to that, and then make that a habit. Make it a routine. For us, we get up, and I actually work for a few hours in the morning before I have the kids get started on school. So we start school at 11, and then they go until well, actually they get we eat lunch and that kind of thing at 11, so they actually start school at noon, and then from noon to 2 or 3 is school time for us. So we keep that routine pretty much every day. Of course, that's the great thing about homeschooling. One of the great things about homeschooling is you can be flexible. So if you have something that you need to change it one day, I'd recommend maybe waiting till you get into that habit, because it can be a little difficult to establish at first, I remember. But once you have that in place, if you need to change it a day because you have something else going on, or if you're going to take a day off and have a field trip, we do that too. So, make it fun, and keep it a little bit flexible, but just spend some time in the beginning getting that structure down, so that you have habit and momentum working for you. That can be a good thing, right? And the next thing, number 3, I think it is be flexible with yourself and with your child. We all have good days and bad days, and of course, we know real life is you usually have to just jump out there and do it anyway, right? Even if you're having a bad day. So, but be flexible, you know, have some fun. Like, don't make it too serious, I would say. Learning is important, but as we're going to kind of touch on, you know, fun is important too, and actually very conducive to learning. So experiment with different curriculums in the beginning, I would say. It took me some time to find one that really worked well for us. We've been using the same one for several years now. You know, if you guys want to know, you know, drop me a comment. I can let you know like what, or send me a message even if you want to discuss curriculums. Also, let me know what you guys are using that you really like, because again, I don't think it's one size fits all. I think different strokes for different folks, as the saying used to go, right? Is that around anymore? I don't know. Number 4 is find ways to laugh and relax when you're doing school. Now, this can be tough, right? Especially with subjects. Well, it depends on what what subjects you like. Of course, I'm not a math person. I've had a lot of math in my school career, but I don't like math, so school can get so stressful for us at times. And I just try to remember, you know, the brain works best when we're having fun and when things are light and when we're laughing. So, you know, try to find ways to do that, to incorporate that into whether it's making little jokes or, you know, maybe a little tickle time, depending on the age of your child. But just try to find ways to keep it fun. In fact, there's been a lot of scientific research on the effects of laughter on the brain. It's very conducive to learning. It actually helps us relax. Stress keeps the brain from working, and laughter actually is very healing. I had an entire class on this in my when I was doing my master's, I believe it was. Had an entire class on the effects of laughter on learning. So, you know, find some ways to laugh. With us right now, because my husband's been laid off and all this, it's really easy to laugh around our house because that's kind of his thing. He's constantly making jokes and just doing things to make us laugh. I love that about him. But I know, you know, a lot of times I've used YouTube videos, you know, comedy skits, and, you know, my youngest daughter loves to tell jokes, so that's been pretty helpful to us in that arena also. But just find ways to laugh. You can do it. Number 5, get kids up and moving every 20 to 30 minutes. Blood flow to the brain means more brain cells working, and you know, you get blood flow to the brain by movement. So, you know, encourage them to maybe get up and go play with the family pet for a couple of minutes. Or now I know with my kids, I have to remind them, okay, this isn't a half-hour break because you only have a 2 or 3 hour school day. This is a, you know, 5-minute break. Go run laps around the house if you want to, or go, you know, my youngest daughter will go sit in the sun and read. And my oldest likes to try on clothes in that 5 minutes, I think, most of the time. But you just find a way to get up and move for a few minutes every so often, because again, it helps us relax, it helps us think better, and helps us be able to focus and concentrate better. The kids, of course, but us too, as the homeschooler, you know, they're asking us for help, and our brains need to work too, right? Number 6, and this is a big one and a tough one, let me tell you. I work on this. We don't get this perfect, but I can tell you it has a huge impact. Watch the sugars and the highly processed foods. You know, during the week, of course, you know, we want to get better at that anyway. You know, we're always trying to get better with you know, what the options we're making available to our kids. Healthy is always better. Again, we do not get that perfect in our house. I'm constantly trying to make healthy stuff. My oldest daughter loves to bake. What's a mom to do, right? But so what I do is try to make some healthy protein snacks available during the time they're doing school, because that healthy protein, you know, every half hour, even if they want to munch on a few nuts or a banana. We use avocados, But, you know, at least sometime during their school or before they start their school time, I kind of try to discourage them taking a long lunch break because they're only doing school, you know, for that 2 or 3 hours. So I try to encourage them to have some nuts or, you know, a banana or an avocado or something close by, or grab one when they get up for their little short breaks. But I try to discourage them from, like, you know, wanting to, if you let them, the kids will want to do their sit down lunch at that time, right? Because they want to take up school time for lunch, not fun time after they're done with school. So be aware of that. But yeah, you know, like, have some healthy snacks. And again, this is something I'd love to hear from you guys on. Drop a comment below and let us know some of the things that you guys like. If you have some good healthy protein snack recipes, or things that you like to grab and go, let us know below. A couple other things that we like to use for our healthy protein snacks is we have a very healthy protein shake that we use, and another one is almond butter. Almond butter, we all, well, I won't say all of us, but most of us in the house like almond butter. You can put it on apples, you can put it on bananas. We put it in shakes, so that's also another really good one. Number 6, remember, keep the goal in perspective, right? What's the goal with school? It's really new learning to create new brain cells, right? And it's to acquire a love of learning, a lifelong love of learning, to think strategically, to be able to analyze the world around us and the things that we see and hear. So, you know, and everybody's goals might be a little bit different, but that's definitely our goals for homeschool. So when I'm helping the kids with their work, or you know, trying to keep them focused on their structure for how we do school, which is way more difficult in the beginning than once you've set down that pattern. But no matter what it is, I try to keep that in perspective. I want them to love learning. I want them to always be seeking knowledge their whole lives. I want them to learn new stuff every day, because there is so much out there, you know, that we are so limited in what we know oftentimes, you know, because if you think about it, the way we think and what's in our mind is a direct result of, excuse me, how we grow up and what information we're exposed to growing up. That is scientifically proven. So, you know, as children, it's very important to expose them to new learning and that they're just taking in as much new information as possible. So find creative ways to do that too. That can be a fun thing to do as a family even. Take fun-filled trips, but, you know, have them be learning new stuff at the same time. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. So again, I just try to keep that in mind. And just a couple pointers with that. A couple of things that I found helpful, that I kind of learned about along the way, is that for one thing, with some kids, you know, you give them their work and they will just go with it. And but everybody's brains works a little bit differently. And some kids, I kind of specialize in teaching about strong-willed children. That's another whole story. But I can tell you that some kids will not stay focused on their own. They won't just get out their work and just go through it and get done with it in a few hours and that's the end of it. Some you're going to need to check on more frequently. And I had a tough time until I figured that out about my daughters. You know, I really needed to keep them on track. Even though they could do the work, even though they understood what was going on, most of the time I didn't have always have a lot of stuff to teach them separate from what they were getting out of their books or their videos that they were using. But it was just, you know, keeping them on task. They needed help with keeping them on task. And that's something, you know, that we kind of learn and grow into as we get older sometimes, depending on if we're given that structure as we're growing up. So that's one thing that really helped me. Repetition is key. And with kids every day, you know, try and repeat an overview kind of, or have them do an overview of what they learned the day before, because that helps to establish those new brain cells and keep them around. A lot of questions. The brain works through questions. So use a curriculum that asks a lot of questions, or you ask some questions about what they're learning. Keep the stress down. Stress is actually counterproductive to learning. I think I touched on this a little bit, but stress, and especially depending on the brain type of the child, stress can be very much counterproductive to learning. In fact, in some kids, studies showed that the part of the brain for focus, learning, and concentration, the prefrontal cortex of the brain there, that actually has been shown in research to turn off in some children with stress. So, and I remember learning that and thinking, wow, that's what was going on with me when I was a kid, sitting at the table with my parents trying to figure out math and tears, like my brain just literally turns off, with high stress. And I know that about myself, and that is the case with many of our children. So just be aware of that. Again, the things we've already talked about will help with that. But just try and do everything you can to, if you find it getting stressful, break it up with a joke, or take a 5-minute break, or maybe go on to another subject and come back to it. And lastly, if you're new to homeschooling, as so many of us are right now, the last thing I would say is don't give up on it, because everything is harder at first, right? I mean, I remember, especially in the beginning, and don't get me wrong, I still have those moments, especially right now, because now I'm homeschooling 4 kids instead of 2, right? So, and 2 of our kids are a little strong-willed, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But just know that it gets so much easier, just stick with it. Find ways to make it work with your personality, your kid's personality. Ask for help if you need it. Ask for help. Take a break and call a friend. I know my best friend and I do that a lot, Oh my gosh, the cats are driving me crazy, like I can't take this homeschooling thing anymore, So vent if you need to, and pray about it. But just stick with it. You can do it. You really can. I promise you can do it. Even if it don't feel like it, you can. Just hang in there. And with that, it's been really great being with you all, chatting with you. And like I said, please leave me a comment. I want to know what you guys are doing that you love, that's working well for you. Until next time, see you guys.